here we are. Tweets out. Boom, boom, boom. Let's talk the Hungarian GP. I don't know if I still have processed what happened yesterday.
Well, I am wearing the Ferrari top. I see you're wearing some lame Renault top because some lame Renault driver. But I'm wearing the Ferrari top because Carlos Sainz dominated P3 yesterday. And he was running P2 for much of the race, Carlos Sainz. But Lewis just got him at the end, didn't he? And couldn't try to chase down Esteban Ocon for the win himself.
Seb fans will crucify you.
So who's Seb?
Yo guys! Hi Ebo, how are you?
I didn't see Seb yesterday.
No, you didn't?
No.
Cool. I got a whole 34 points this week. Much right. I mean, everyone's fantasy teams. Basically,
I haven't looked.
Everyone hates Bottas.
I have not looked.
I got 71, so I did okay because I had Hamilton.
Thereabouts then.
Yeah,
we
went for the Hamilton, which was the only. So, you know, as much as I love Fernando Alonso, really annoyed actually that he stuffed Hamilton winning the race. Yeah. Anyway, I feel sad for Seb. Yeah, no, it is gutting for Seb. So we'll do our usual. Right, he got disqualified. So you know what happened. Right, we'll go through our usual stuff. Hello, Katie. Welcome to the chat, and welcome all. We'll do there, and we'll cover the main things, and we'll talk about the important matters when the numbers start to get up. So that means we should start with Haas, because no one ever goes.
No, don't say anything. Don't say anything about Haas. Gary was great. Actually, no, there is something to talk about Haas. Mick Schumacher
drove fantastic.
Yeah, he had a great battle with Max Verstappen.
He did.
Finished outside the points in the end because he's in a Haas. And Nikita Mazepin, unlucky victim of the pit craze, where Kimi was launched into the side of him. So Nikita, a bit unlucky there. But something was going to go wrong when you had 16 odd car. No, it would have been 15.
Chaos.
F1
cars. Isn't used to that type of chaos of everyone lunging into the pits at once. Am I right, Scott? IndyCar, bam, bam, bam. Good to see you in chat.
Hello.
Fernando did what he was paid to do. Keep drivers behind him. We'll come on to Fernando. Fernando! Hello, Infinite. Hello. You certainly will be a happy man and no too much taunting of Stephen. Go from there. Never thought that Ocon would win a race. Never is a bit much, but I never thought he would win a race this season. But hey. So Mick's definitely got his elbow out. It was great to watch. Definitely was. Someone had to spin Nicky's out. He didn't spin himself out. Fair. Alonso did an amazing race. He absolutely did, Gianni. Fairy tales do happen. They do, Mr. Peng. Stephen, where's your Red Bull shirt?
I don't know what you mean. I'm a Ferrari fan. I've always been a Ferrari fan. Been a big fan of Ferrari. Carlos Sainz, like I said, drove a brilliant race. P2 most of it. Ended up P3.
Okay. Fantasy weekend was painful. 42 points. Long. Still 9th in your league, though. All right, Heisenberg. I did gain places, I think. Yeah, go for them. Hello, the moaning Yorkshireman. I don't know what went wrong there. Hey, guys. The restart was one of the most bizarre sights I've ever seen. And I was at the 2005 US GP.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I can't really comprehend that. I was like,
good on Lewis.
I think I tweeted, like, WTF have I just watched?
Good on Lewis for actually putting a car on the starting grid.
Absolutely. Someone said, if Lewis had pitted, how did the race start?
It would have just been one by one at the pit lane.
Would it?
Yeah.
Or would it just have been another?
And it would have had.
Or would they have had to do a second formation lap?
No. They would have just one by one at the pit lane.
Fair enough. I had a headache from yesterday. Absolutely, it was mental. So yeah, Haas we've covered there.
Alfa Romeo, Gio 14th, Kimi 11th. Both slapped with big penalties.
Yeah,
Gio sped in the pit lane. I'm not sure if that was at the start.
Alfa Romeo had a really big day to forget.
Yeah.
In a day that they could have really capitalised and got a strong points finished, they had a terrible day at the office.
Undone in the pit lane.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why Gio was speeding in the pit lane. I was scared someone's way.
I don't know. It's weird.
Because you weren't allowed to, even though everyone came in on the first lap and people were doing faster pit stops than others, you couldn't overtake anyone. That's where George Russell was caught out because he went all the way to the front because Williams nailed it. But because technically the race hadn't started, that's why you had to give all the positions back at the start.
There you go, Mining Yorkshireman doing our job for us. Race summed up quickly. Bottas and Stroll destroyed half the field. Alonso held up Hamilton long enough so Ocon would win. Job done.
We'll come on to Lance Stroll.
We will come on to the Stroll. Strollinator.
Yeah. Who's next?
I feel like he inherited, stuff from his dad. I am very angry.
Jesus. We're going to McLaren. Shockingly, we're doing McLaren all the way back here because Lando Norris launched himself into P3. What a getaway from the line. Turns out it was a curse to put yourself in front of Valtteri no brakes Bottas. And Lando didn't last long.
Love that, Mr. Peng. Had you showed me the restart grid, I'd assumed it was Maldonado driving Hamilton's car and he'd crashed everybody else out. Brilliant. We have to take a moment here for Lando, not only for his race, but our mum likes Lando Norris. She supports Lando Norris. Guys know we were at Silverstone the last race. We bought her a Lando Norris top. We're like, here you go, mum. And she was so excited. She was wearing a Lando Norris top, and she's like, "Oh wow!"
First race.
She was like, "Going, wow, Lando's doing great."
That hurt. I was like, I feel your pain. I've seen it with Max.
It just hurt. But yeah, it's what a gutting day for McLaren.
But yes, Ricciardo, even more gutting possibly than Lando Norris, even though Lando didn't even get to compete. Ricciardo looked like he probably would have won the race if it wasn't for Mr. Lance Stroll, taking out Charles Leclerc, taking out Daniel Ricciardo. Absolutely gutted for Danny. I feel like he would have been one of the favourites to win. Maybe if Leclerc was in it, it would have been bad between the two, but Ricciardo would have had a great shot at winning the race. But took damage then and was just...
Did you see the video of him after the race? It was genuinely heartbreaking. I mean, he looked broken. He genuinely looked broken because I think he knew it was a chance of a race win. He just literally spent about 30 seconds just literally head resting on the halo. Just literally this, just didn't move.
But the thing is, he then had to do 70 laps with a car that was heavily damaged, which couldn't do anything.
No.
A bit like Max. But at least Max, the Red Bull, performance is a bit better.
He's not going to buy Infinite. He's not going to buy
it. Moving on from the heartbreak of McLaren, real heartbreak for both drivers.
No, Casey, we're not going to ban our mum from supporting Lando. Oh, you meanie girl.
Let's move on to...
Hello, David.
Well, we probably should, as there wasn't really much to talk about. Red Bull with Max Verstappen in P10. Again, I'm not sure people have seen the picture. The good old picture of what Max's car looked like. How do I... There we go. I want to zoom in so it doesn't show. Okay. But I'm not sure. This is what his car was.
So there's a big gap where there's meant to be some flooring.
So he had a fun race, like Ricciardo, just had to drive a car that was wrecked. He got a point, but what is the point in that? So yeah, that's Max. Let's just move the pain out the way.
Well, Max, no. Let's give Max credit here. Max drove an absolutely fantastic race to get a point in that car, despite obviously Red Bull being one of the two quickest cars this season, and for the majority of the season, the quickest car. having that much damage, we all know F1 cars are like, it's a delicate, me. But yeah, it was an incredible drive to get a point. And well, obviously with Sebastian Vettel's disqualification, he gets 2 points.
Yes. So yeah.
Perez, there's just not much to talk about other than knocking on into consequences further on down the line. Perez and both Max will have likely engine penalties further down the season because...
Well, I think both confirmed engine penalties.
Yeah.
For, I presume they'll bring it in for Spa.
Yeah.
Is that the first race?
Yeah, that's the first one afterwards. F1 cars are fragile, absolutely they are. Half downforce, prob degraded tyres unevenly as well. Yeah, absolutely. He was going from engine pens for you, engine pens. Are you done, Red Bull?
Yeah, let's get past them.
Okay,
we're done. We're done. I need to try to remember the rest of the order. Williams, first double points finish.
Are we gonna big up Williams now? Let's go, George Russell and Nicholas Latifi. Nicholas Latifi has the couple of points ahead of George Russell, but wow, like what an incredible day for Williams getting a double points result after all they've been through over the past 3 or 4 years. You can argue it's their own fault because they haven't built a very good car, but you know, there have certainly for George Russell, there have been plenty of moments where you go, man, is this guy ever going to score any points in a Williams? And it happened, and the radio message of Russell saying, if you need to sacrifice my race to kind of help Nicholas Latifi's there, it was great. Latifi drove brilliantly. I think he kept, Sonoda behind him for a large part of the race. He was running in the podium positions for the early parts of the race, which was crazy. It was brilliant drives from both of them, and you could see the 2.5 years that George Russell has been at Williams, it was emotional, and like all that hard work to finally pay off. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. The way George Russell was driven, he should have been competing for race wins and podiums on the regular. But in F1, those points are as good as a race win or podium.
You know what I didn't get, though? One of the most confusing things about the day is the Williams video they showed. Why was it in like Spanish?
Yeah, I didn't get that. He maybe was crying because he couldn't understand them. He's like, I'm just... what are you saying? P9! P9!
I mean, I was so confused.
Perez' engine is cooked. Think they will take the penalty sooner rather than later for him to get it over with. I rate George for insisting Latifi gets the better start because Latifi was ahead. Williams getting double points just shows how messed up the race was. It really does. Ocon's story is one of rags to riches and now a Grand Prix winner. Absolutely. And we'll definitely come on to Ocon later on in the chat. George only finishes behind his teammate when points are on offer. Crazy, but so happy for both of them and the team.
That's true.
Alonso is a real class driver. He is, and we'll come on to Alpine. But obviously, they've earned the spot at the top today, so they'll be the last one.
But yes, also Nicholas Latifi had a fantastic drive.
Yeah, and quite a lot of the times it could easily say Nicholas Latifi is just there for his money, and he has been heavily helped getting into F1 because of the money that he has. But he still had to perform in that car.
Well, no doubt he is in the top 2 of worst drivers on the grid, but he did have a great day. So let's not big him up as a driver because he's at the lower end, whatever result he gets.
Yeah, absolutely. But he drove a great race.
Yeah.
So, kudos when kudos is due.
AlphaTauri next. Pierre Gasly
stole the fastest lap off Lewis Hamilton.
Did he? Did he actually nick it?
He genuinely did, yeah.
Going for that Red Bull seat.
Yep.
Doing all he can.
Absolutely.
Could be there because he has positive talks.
And Checo isn't really doing much to...
He's getting pretty unlucky sometimes.
Yeah. He's unlucky. Bear in mind, but he's not exactly mastered the results that the team would have wanted. Like, he's got unlucky, but there has also been driver errors.
It's going to be a mega second half season for him and Bottas.
I'm thinking Imola, and I'm thinking Silverstone, 2 big mistakes from Sergio Perez that could define his Red Bull career.
Yeah.
If we're harsh on Bottas, then Perez,
he was always going to be a parachute in, and he was going to have to be incredibly good to keep a second year. But if he has a great second of the season, he may survive.
Yeah, and Gasly obviously got pushed wide at that first turn, so he did fantastic
to recover
and come ahead of Tsunoda, who was racing P4 at one stage, wasn't he?
Yes.
So yeah.
But Yuki Tsunoda, in challenging conditions, kept on the track. Very solid performance from Yuki. Decent result, P7. Could have got better, but I think he was just making sure he didn't crash. Is that a fair result?
Right. I'm going to go with this. Is it a decent result, or is it what was expected?
Well,
he did what was expected.
I'm not saying it's a good or great result. That's decent. It's like
he did what was expected because Latifi and Russell, the Williams is definitely slower than the AlphaTauri. Verstappen, Ricciardo heavily damaged. Alfa Romeo had a day to forget, and Haas, and everyone else retired.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say.
He kept on the road. That's what he struggles with, and he kept on the road. If Mazepin didn't spin so much, everyone would be making.
Did Tsunoda score any points yesterday? Yes, Tsunoda definitely scored points.
But there we go. He got 9 points. No, he got 8 points.
No, he got 9.
No, because Gasly's 1 point, so he would have got 8. Right? Well, does that 9 not include?
Tsunoda would have.
Does that include fast as that?
It might have done. Yeah, I think so. He would have got 8.
It makes sense. 6, 8, 10.
Yeah, would
have. So yeah, that's AlphaTauri. Pretty decent result, 6 and 7. In a chaotic race, maybe they should have been going for more. So let's not go to Alpine. Let's go to Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Charles Leclerc.
Victim.
I mean, out of all the people who got taken out on the first one, I feel most bad for Charles Leclerc because he just got completely KO'd by Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll jumped up on the ropes, which was the curb, and just dived bombed Leclerc.
Yeah. Now, if people are saying deliberate crashes, no, it definitely wasn't deliberate, but Lance Stroll, when we'll talk about him more, got it very wrong, and Leclerc very unlucky. But Carlos Sainz drove a pretty strong race.
Yep.
But got held up behind Alonso too long.
Yeah.
And wasn't able
when Alonso went long, wasn't it?
Yeah, and wasn't able to challenge the top 2. So he gets a podium, and that can never be frowned upon. Yeah. But I was actually, but we've seen how difficult Alonso was to get past and how well he drove there.
Yeah.
But it's happened. Sainz, he's got a podium for Ferrari again. And I think that now takes him ahead of Charles Leclerc in the championship.
Possibly. I think he was saying on the post-race they should have been fighting for the win. And he was absolutely gutted that they were.
And
that's one of the things knows their joint on points.
Okay.
It's one of the things about Sainz. He's a very hungry driver.
Yeah, and I think
I know all of them are, but
if Sainz is saying he's expecting more, then I think it's fair to say
he's always pushing that team forward.
Should have expected more as well from him.
Well,
possibly. I think he'll be disappointed with that result.
Well, he is.
Yeah, and he is disappointed with that result, and I think we should say as fans, looking at those 2 cars and how the Ferrari has been and how we thought maybe the Ferrari might be in this race, he should have won this race.
Yeah.
Not even close. Like the Alpine has consistently been, I know the Alpine actually looked like it had a bit of pace this weekend.
Yeah.
But you would have backed Ferrari over both Aston Martin and Alpine.
The way the season's going.
Yeah.
Let's go on to Mercedes. First off, Bottas, we've kind of spoke about here and there. It was a tough day for him. He got sandwiched by Checo and Lando and then forgot to brake in time for the corner, took Lando out, which then took Max out, which then took Checo out.
Yeah, out of the two incidents, Lance Stroll's feels the most. He took avoiding action from Ocon. As soon as he made that drastic move onto the grass, he was always going to go straight on.
Lance Stroll's was horrific. Bottas is just a mistake.
Bottas was a mistake. Yeah. And for all those obviously saying deliberate, stupid, look.
If it was a Red Bull that he crashed into, you could go, whoa, but he crashed into Lando Norris, who you would never... Max, if... It was incredibly good planning if Bottas knew, well, if I push Norris now, it will perfectly collide with Max Verstappen. He wouldn't have even seen Max.
It was really difficult. I mean, Scott Miller says first corner pile-ups are nothing new to F1, especially in the wet. Nothing was intentional. And I completely agree there. And we were discussing about this just pre-stream going there. Bottas was in a really difficult situation. He gets this incredibly poor start, but then he gets sandwiched in and he's really close to Norris. And in those wet conditions, even with great reactions, with how close he was to Norris, as soon as Norris put his foot on the brakes, it was game over. He just was, his car was in an unfortunate position. Where you can criticize Bottas is he got a poor getaway and he got a poor start. The crash itself, not intentional. Was it the worst mistake I've ever seen? No. Incredibly wet conditions. We know how bad these cars are following and how much downforce you lose when you're directly in the wake of air. And he was right up behind Lando Norris and makes it difficult to think. And as soon as he brakes in those conditions, it's difficult. You could say maybe he could lift, but the guy is in a contract season fighting for his position. He's already had a horrendous start, and we all know how bad he is at working his way through the field.
100% he could have avoided the crash, but...
Yeah, so the penalty is fair, but I don't think it's as bad as what people are making it out to be.
Yeah, Lando's fan favourite, but if he didn't take out both the Red Bulls, I think less would have been made about it. It's just the fact that both Red Bulls got caught up in it as well.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes it a bit more spotlighty.
And absolutely. So Bottas gets a pay rise.
Yes. The joke tweet of the race, Bottas has secured his pay rise.
Matthew D'Souza, Norris' reaction to Bottas in the Dutch interview was funny. I mean, Norris was just fuming. He was like going, if I got a penalty in Austria for not doing anything wrong, so Bottas should get a penalty for doing that. I was like, well, tell us what you really think, Norris. Yeah. But go from there. And now, important one here. Those fans, I wouldn't call them fans, who booed Lewis Hamilton at the weekend after the qualifying incident, and I think a couple even booed him on the podium. What are you doing? He's one of the greatest drivers to drive in F1 of all time. We've got an incredible title battle between Max and Lewis. The last couple of races, is that how we would have wanted it to go? No. Obviously, the racing incident that happened in Silverstone with two guys just not wanting to give up an inch was unfortunate how it ended. And it's unfortunate how Lewis has retaken the lead. But also, they're driving at each other. That's motor racing, you know? Lewis Hamilton fans always bring up the Nico Rosberg season. If Lewis's reliability had been better, he would have won the championship that year. That's just motor racing. If Kimi Raikkonen, the McLaren was an absolute rocket in 2005, Fernando Alonso wouldn't have won the championship that year if the McLaren was more reliable. It's just motor racing. So if Max Verstappen loses, it's not, it's because Lewis was so lucky in those situations. Yes, there is an element of luck to it, but over the course of a season, and now over the course of the season, where there are so many races, it levels itself out. Like whoever wins it, whether it's Max or Lewis, is going to be deserving.
Yeah. I was just seeing Ibocam talking about the qualifying thing. Red Bull have really only got themselves to blame. People weren't really going faster on those second laps anyway. So if they got their first laps right, they would have been fine. But it's just the thing that they didn't nail the first laps. They've only got themselves to blame. And Lewis's actual outlap was pretty goddamn quick. So maybe he went a bit slow in the pit lane, but
I think everyone saw the kind of gaps as well. Lewis didn't have a bigger gap.
Yeah.
Or a smaller gap. A bigger gap to Bottas than anybody else really had on their outlaps and on the tracks. So stop trying to make drama out of nothing. Just enjoy the racing we've got on track, because it's a hell of a season so far. And with some of the, difficult seasons we've had in F1, especially 2020, as much as there were kind of high moments, the predictability of the championship was really difficult. And also the 2019 championship was difficult with no fight at the lead. We've now got all those intriguing battles, the kind of rare chaotic races that are giving unpredictable race winners. Obviously not to any regularity that we would have preferred, but we've now got a title fight between Max and Lewis as well, which is superb to watch.
Into the summer break.
Yeah, nice. Absolutely. F1 is an objective opinion, so there's no need to boo unless there's intention in crashing someone. Absolutely.
Hey, Fergus.
Scott Miller, I'm hopeful for the new regulations to improve overtaking. Part of the issue with the starts is that they are one of the few times to make up positions. Absolutely. Booing isn't new to the sport. I don't agree with it, but I wouldn't read too much into it. The cheers back in 2005 when Alonso's engine blew up at Monza, it's a pantomime. Yeah, look, I get you. I get it. But still, I guess it's the emotion of it, and it shows that people care, and it shows. And at the end of the day, if Lewis goes on to win the championships, he won't care that people booed him, because he's like, "Look, I'm the most successful driver in Formula One history. Have that and stuff it up your rocket." But yeah, it's still like, to seriously boo someone just feels petty and weird.
He had a great drive yesterday as well.
Yeah, he had a really
suffering
great
from
drive.
fatigue. I had to see the doctor after the race because of dizziness.
Mm.
He had a great drive. Had the quickest car on track, but you still got to send it round at Hungary.
Mm.
You can't really blame him against Alonso because it's a difficult track to overtake on. And Alonso, he was just putting on a masterclass of defending. That's what Alonso does. It's one of his key assets.
His driving ability. He's probably the best wheel-to-wheel racer in the last 20 years in F1. I think every driver that has driven with him has said there's such a kind of respect between them. And, people will say Lewis, but I just think Fernando really is on that level. He is the best. If you're just looking at that particular skill, I think he is the best. But Lewis Hamilton, he makes those drives look easy, but he's carved his way through the field. Yes, the Merc was the quickest car that weekend. But everyone bar Alonso, he made it look easy getting past.
Yeah,
pretty much. Even Sainz after Alonso, and he would have eaten so much into those medium tyres at the end, fighting Alonso for that position, that he still made the move on Sainz look fairly easy afterwards, which then also elevates how good a drive it was from Fernando Alonso.
Yes, but we're not on Fernando yet. Calm down, okay? You're nearly there.
Give me Fernando.
Hold on, because we need to crucify Lance Stroll and Aston Martin. Lance! I know it's wet. I know it's the first corner of lap 1. Everyone's there. But Lance! Where are you going?
I don't know. I don't know. Was that directed at me? I don't know where Lance.
Where are you going, Lance? I said to Mike, that's the worst bit of driving I've seen this season. It was just shocking. The way he was taking it's just shocking. I don't know what went through his head to go, oh yeah, if I go on the inside here, there'll be room for me. Oh yeah, if I just go over the apex here.
Moaning Yorkshireman's got it right. Lance, he's had such a good season. It was his time to screw up. Absolutely. He was like, come on, guys. Don't rate me too highly now. Go from there.
It was shocking.
But we'll leave Lance.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll big up Vettel Sebastian. Because Vettel drove a fantastic race and he did an incredible outlap that almost got him past Esteban Ocon.
Yes, it was a slow pit stop slightly, wasn't it?
But if Aston Martin's pit crew had just done a normal stop, or even just, even if it was slightly slower, like 2.7 seconds, I think he still comes out ahead of Ocon because it was such an incredible outlap.
Well, at least by screwing up the pit stop, they weren't having a victory taken away from them.
Yeah, that would have hurt.
But yes, Sebastian Vettel for 65 laps or something, constantly applied the pressure of Ocon. The car performance, you need a pretty significant difference to make the overtake at Hungary. Obviously, there wasn't there. He was just hoping for it.
Well, in fairness, then, sorry, Fergus got a good point. Then error from Vettel and the pit crew. Then, but Vettel said he overshot his marks. So therefore, we know that they train these things, and you've got to hit the marks because to get the precision of that short time, everyone is just geared for that one spot.
What happened with Bottas at Monaco, wasn't it?
Yeah,
with the wheel.
Absolutely.
But yeah, constantly applied the pressure of Ocon, hoping to drive him into mistake. Couldn't do it, and got fantastic P2.
And the Aston Martin car was clearly quicker than the Alpine as well, so it was a surprise.
But not by enough to make an overtake around Hungary.
No, absolutely.
But unfortunately, they didn't have enough fuel to give to the FIA. I know it's been appealed. They're either going down the route of...
Hi, Fergus.
They're going down the route of saying it wasn't a competitive advantage or the equipment the FIA used was not working. They're going to try appeal it, but at the moment, Sebastian looks like he will lose that P2. It's been announced. It just depends on appeal. I don't see it being overturned, but hopefully, because it was a fantastic drive which deserved a P2 for him and the team. So here we go. Take it away, Alpine.
First, we'll go Fernando Alonso, and then we'll talk about the race winner, because Esteban Ocon enjoys every bit of his plaudits and to be the last guy spoken about as race winner, because his first race win is something special. Fernando Alonso navigated through the start, but he wasn't necessarily, he was just in the mid-pack, wasn't he? But Esteban Ocon had managed to launch himself up into that P2, which then inherited P1 position at the start of the race. But the highlight has to be that he showed that he still got it. And I had every confidence when he came back into the sport that Fernando Alonso would show how good a driver he is, because for me, he is one of the best drivers in the last 20 years. And why I was so frustrated when people were like, we don't want Alonso back. I'm like going, why would you not want a really good driver on the F1 grid? Why would you want, no offense to Zhao, no offense to Lundgaard, why would you want them in F1 ahead of Fernando Alonso? Because he's had his time, has he? If he can still race how he did against Lewis Hamilton, why would you not want that? Because that improves the racing product of, Formula One. And the wheel-to-wheel action was just two greats of the sport going at it, just kind of this tactical chess battle of where they were placing their car, where they were fighting it. And, if it hadn't just been that lock-up, I don't think Hamilton would have even got past Alonso. I think he was in control. But, he just was a little bit pressed too far, and it was a little bit too much for that Alpine to hold that Mercedes back the whole time. And that's frustrating because it would have been a 1-3 for Alpine. If he just imagine. Can you imagine if he had held that? Was so good. And you know what also I like, and I think it needs to be said, because obviously all the toxicity. Fernando Alonso's a toxic character. And, I always say, I bet there are things that he's not proud of and situations he wish he could have handled better in the past. But he's a brilliant racing driver, and how he's come back to Alpine, he's been nothing but supportive and good for the sport. And especially it seems supportive to Esteban Ocon because he looked genuinely happy to see Esteban Ocon score that first win.
The post-race moments were one of my favourites of the day.
Yeah. Seeing Ocon so happy there, but Fernando Alonso clapping and applauding him on as Ocon embraced the team, and then also lifting him up and just kind of cheering. And, that's the picture in the thumbnail for days one. And I just thought it was a great moment. And all the people who, were having a go at Fernando Alonso creating this toxic environment at McLaren back in 2018, he's clearly said, that's not how I want to be remembered in the sport. And he's coming back and he's proving not only is he one of the best talents we've seen in F1, but he is, he can be great stuff. And this mentor role that he's playing to Esteban Ocon seems really good. And he wanted to help the young drivers in the Alpine Academy. And I don't know if he's helped Piastri, who's having a fantastic season in F2, the Zhao and Lungards. He said he wanted to kind of work and help those guys out as well. So be there.
I did like Ocon's little shout out to Alonso, saying a lot of people told him things about Alonso before the season, and he just said everything they said was wrong.
All right, Infinite. I love Alonso, but people are rating the defensive drive way too much. Look at the factors. Correct. I get that, Infinite. But then my counter argument would be, look how easily Lewis Hamilton overtook literally everybody else. Fernando Alonso was the only guy on a harder compound with older tyres who held up Lewis Hamilton.
The only other time he was held up was when he was in the DRS train.
Yeah.
With the Gasly, Mick and Max.
Absolutely. And
which Alonso, is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and Alonso didn't have the DRS. So let's go from there. So I do think it deserves the praise that it's warranted. I think absolutely it deserves it. And it also deserves praise from Lewis Hamilton for applying still that pressure to force Alonso into the mistake and come out on top eventually. Because what he needed to do, this is what the great drivers do. They get the job done. But Alonso got the job done enough to help secure his teammate the win. And Esteban Ocon coming onto it. Yeah, I get what you mean, Infinite. And at the end of the day, that's opinion. That's your opinion in terms of, because it's a difficult track to overtake on. But I'll be honest with you, that's most F1 tracks, isn't it? Most F1 tracks only have one or two key overtaking areas. And the rest is just kind of how you follow the car and how you place the car for the rest of the corners. But Esteban Ocon, first race winner. A couple of years ago, it looked like his F1 career might have been over when he was kicked out of Force India in place for Lance Stroll to come in when Lawrence bought the team.
Good old Lawrence.
Was Mercedes reserve driver. Mercedes turned him down in 2019, but found his way in at Renault for the 2020 season. Didn't have the greatest of 2020 seasons, but he did improve at stages. He showed signs of promise. And he started off really well in this season, actually. Had his little bit of a blip, but this is the best drive, clearly, of his career because he's won a race. But he just drove so maturely, and it's so nice, actually. I think I was saying it. Fergus said he enjoyed the TF1 show. I was on with Tinnis from TF1 show yesterday, and I think I was going, it's so nice, and it's the balance and trade-off you get with F1. F1 is the engineering brilliance. We get these amazing cars, but we don't necessarily get to see the drivers show off their full potential. And in rare cases like today, we got cars that were more evenly matched in Alpine and Aston Martin, and a guy who hasn't really had a chance to win a race since his junior career. Well, he hasn't had the chance to win a race since his junior career. And he controlled the race. He dealt with the pressure. He got the job done. And it was so nice seeing him so happy, wasn't it? You said, post-race celebrations, and it was so brilliant just to see him.
One of the best moments of the day.
Yeah, just so happy. Absolutely. 10 laps, Alonso held up there from there. But yeah, look, Esteban Ocon, absolutely incredible. He drove clever if This car between Leclerc and Ricciardo, like most would have done, he would have been another Stroll casualty. Absolutely, yeah. As a neutral, it was great to battle to watch. Alonso did a brilliant job. Look how close Lewis was to Seb at the end of the race. Nando definitely played a big part in making sure he ran out the laps. Absolutely, in that. So yeah, great drive from Fernando Alonso. A deserving driver of the day. But if your driver of the day was Esteban Ocon, you can't complain that too, because he did drive brilliantly.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to have an aspect because you don't know what were the real troubles, everyone. Hamilton drove a brilliant race, getting back onto the podium. Now, obviously, promoted into P2. Max drove a fantastic race to even get points with a massively damaged car. Gasly did a fantastic race to recover from his difficulties at the start and get the fastest lap at the end. So, there were so many positives throughout. Go from there.
Oscar, driver of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Oscar, driver of the day. Who's your driver of the day, mate? Nope, done. Absolutely.
Clearly, it wasn't Fernando. This is a peaceful protest. He is done. My driver of the day is going to be one of the Alpine guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can make an argument for either.
No, Arjun, is it game over already for Max in the World Drivers' Championship? This championship is not done yet. I think it's going to be a lot closer than the Sebastian Vettel Ferrari is. I think we've got a real shot at this going down to the last race.
Yeah.
I genuinely do.
If you remember last year,
is what we were crying out for.
Red Bull dominated Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, they did, actually, yeah.
So for Mercedes, they're going to want to wrap it up before the end.
Yeah, and Ibo makes a good point there. Alonso could have let him past, so he had tyres to get back Sainz. And also, Alonso was very close to Sainz at the end, and 1 or 2 more laps, he probably was taking Sainz, actually. So, but yeah, like I said, he didn't because he was the team player and did enough to hold off Lewis Hamilton. So, Alpine, the team, could get the win, and Esteban Ocon, his teammate, could get it. I'm going to say Mick Schumacher was the driver of the day. Yeah, I think you can make a case for Mick Schumacher as well because he defended brilliantly in that Haas car and at times was so close to getting, points in it. But it was, if he got points in that Haas, would have been a miracle. At times he was driving in the points.
Yeah.
And if a few things had gone his way, you never know.
If he was in a better car, then yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he has developed the car at all, then maybe.
Latifi driver today. Yeah, it's potential,
No.
Go from there. But have people forgotten about Scott Miller, Senna holding up Mansell at Monaco in 1993? It was Ayrton's job to keep Nigel behind, as it was Fernando's job to keep Lewis behind. Yeah, absolutely. The art of defensive driving is an underappreciated skill. I think a lot of people get excited by the overtaking, but stopping someone being able to overtake you is just as valuable a skill and as is impressive to see it well executed.
Yeah.
As much as, you'll say, well, Monaco's, it's a procession. You can't overtake there. I mean, like we say, that 1993 finish to the race is it's an incredible watch to go from there. But what a race it was.
What a race. It was a great race. Nice, always good to have a chaotic race. Sometimes it's not great when your favorite driver gets knocked out the race at the start again. But it was a great race. Okay, Esteban Ocon, always love to see a first-time winner. Like you said, Alonso, he's still got it.
It would have been brilliant for Vettel as well. That would have been a great stuff. But obviously, technical infringements
could still happen.
That's how it happens. It could still, they could appeal and show that, but
they're definitely appealing.
Yeah, I think the likelihood of that appeal.
Lawrence will get his mask back on his Darth Vader.
I am very angry. Yeah, but a tough day for McLaren.
If I was Michael Massey, I would be scared.
Yeah, I would be too. Because, he's Mr. Incredible, as Josh would say. McLaren, bad day at the office. Red Bull, bad day at the office. But we go into the summer break now with Mercedes leading both championships. It makes it very interesting. Ricciardo finished 12th. He showed Verstappen who's boss for most of the race, though. I thought you'd appreciate, Matt. I mean, both damaged cars. It was difficult.
Ricciardo, yeah. We were bigging him up at the start. We were saying he was one of the most heartbreaking drivers, one of the most heartbreaking drivers of the first lap chaos.
So don't worry, Matt. We gave him his due. Don't worry. But yes, summer break. It's a long time without it, and I've seen people going, "Oh no, we don't have F1 for 3 weeks. How am I going to cope?" Oscar's asking, "How am I going to cope?" I'll tell you how. IndyCar! Whoa. We're back for the inaugural Nashville GP street race this weekend.
IndyCar have had their summer break already.
Yeah, so if you've got a need for watching racing, as we always say, you can appreciate both series. That can definitely fill your racing bug. But for F1, the championship is well and truly alive going into the second half of the season. It is a sustained bid from Red Bull. It is a sustained bid from Mercedes, whichever you view is the better car this season. But yeah, it is going to be fantastic to see it in Spa. What a track to go back to as well. Yes. What a track Spa is. Cannot wait for it. And Red Bull and Merck still developing over the summer, I believe. Yes.
You're not allowed to touch the cars, but you could do sim work and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a very small window, isn't it? Because the factories get shut down for 3 weeks, don't they? Yeah. So yeah, interesting on that one.
You can't do too much, but they will be thinking and planning, of course.
Absolutely. But yeah, 3 straight weekends of IndyCar, baby.
Oh, yeah.
We can't hide that.
And it's Nashville. It's got a bridge.
It's got a bridge, guys. It's got a bridge. Right, we're letting IndyCar detour this. F1. We won't let F1 have its moment because it was a great race, a great chaotic race. Great to see Esteban Ocon win a first-time winner. And Bottas, I feel the writing is on the wall.
It's going to be a mega second season for Bottas and Perez.
George Russell today, I believe, was doing a Pirelli 22-inch or 18-inch
in the Merc
times in the Merc.
Well, you got Russell pressuring Bottas and you got Gasly pressuring Perez. Don't forget about the Perez thing. All eyes are on Bottas, but Perez is also fighting for his top seat.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Cranky Yankee has been kind of going on about how it is a big weekend, but I would imagine as things stand, I wouldn't be surprised to see both drivers not in their current teams for the next season.
Yeah.
IMSA this weekend too, of course, Katie, Kevin Magnussen fans out there, you can get to see him race in IMSA, him and Renga. 3-week break, mandatory shutdown for 2 weeks, so they've got a week to bolt bits on ready for Spa. Absolutely, but they'll obviously be they won't be building stuff in factory, but I imagine they will be doing lots of planning there. I'm sure F1 teams have found ways around building stuff.
Well, you can just sim it, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to remember, Marco doesn't make mistakes. Gasly will not be at Red Bull next year.
They've held positive talks though.
Yeah, I think Gasly may be the one that they turn around and go, you know what? Maybe.
Yeah.
Because his results and consistency level is undeniably better. And I think Gasly would go in with a much better, and he would understand the situation at Red Bull a lot better this time round than his naivety the first time round.
They got no one else. They could turn to Albon, but you go, he's had a year at the sport. So
he's going to take time to kind of get back up to scratch anyway.
Yeah.
Gasly is now the ready-made one if they need to switch Perez. So it's whether they stick or twist with Perez. So it'll be interesting there. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for today's video, unless there's any more burning questions in the chat. But thank you, as always, for being brilliant in the live chat. We always enjoy kind of talking to you guys. It makes the race discussion so much better. We will try and get an F1 fantasy video out tomorrow, although it is a busy week for both of us, so it may come later in the week. Not entirely sure what Oscar is.
I don't think he's in the camera.
He's not in the camera shot, but he's like, I don't know. He's doing some weird thing over there. Going for that. Perez will stay on. Matthew D'Souza. Red Bull expect too much too quickly. Give him 2 years. Yeah, probably. Haven't seen the race yet since I was at Silverstone Classic this weekend, but even though I didn't want spoilers, I decided to check the F1 app about 35 laps in. I was so confused.
I just remembered.
Yes, that would be confusing.
Marshals. We obviously had the tragic news over the weekend. A marshal at Brands Hatch sadly lost their lives after a crash.
I was very sad.
The sport is nothing without them. So lots of love to the marshals.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. These positions, they're volunteers, aren't they? So I think for the level of risk they do, it needs to be a paid position, because literally, like you said, racing cannot happen without marshals. So for someone so integral to the sport,
because our mum's friend is they marshal at Brands Hatch, and they say if you work as someone handing out programs, you get paid. But if you're a marshal, whether that's a marshal or an ambulance in the marshal, it's all volunteer. It's
which is crazy.
Slightly crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely crazy. That is definitely, there's so much money in motorsport. Like, this is a priority, and it needs to kind of be changed, I think. And obviously thoughts go out to his family there, and obviously thoughts go out to that big accident that happened at Spa in the endurance race there, and Jack Aitken in hospital, and I believe the other race he was involved in, and sorry, the names escaped me at the moment, who was involved, but it could have been a lot worse. So thankful that they were both okay for now. Scott asked a question, curious about this: how much does a driver's nationality impact fan opinion, both positive and negative, from fellow countrymen? As not as a Yank, I can't really relate. I don't know. I guess there's a lot of pride. Obviously, Max Verstappen has huge support from the Dutch fans, and the extreme end of fans would rate Lewis poorer because of how much they support Max. So there's a biased in opinion. And so would British fans with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
So I think the extreme ends of the guys who take passionate support rather than unbiased view. Obviously, we sit in the middle. We just, especially me, I
feel like I definitely lean one way.
Yeah, you definitely lean one way to Max, but it's the same in both series.
Not too far.
Yeah, it's the same in both series that I follow. I just want to see a good race, and I don't really care who does well. I want to see racers performing well and doing well, and it doesn't really matter to me if their nationality is British, whether it's Spanish, whether it's Japanese, whether it's Australian. It doesn't really bother me. I just like to see drivers do well. And obviously, Stephen's nationality does not impact on it, because he is obviously very supportive of Lewis Hamilton, but Max Verstappen's his guy.
My guy. I've also got my Mexican in Pato.
Yeah, absolutely.
My guy.
And obviously, Stephen is clearly a Dutch Mexican.
Yes, that's my heritage.
Yep. His hair was orange, so naturally he had to. Maybe hair color influences who you support.
Facts here at F1 Fanatics.
Oh dear, unbelievable. Hope, Scott, that kind of gave some sort of clarity to your answer in some random way. I don't know.
Especially the end of the answer.
Absolutely.
Clarity.
I like all drivers, some more than others, but still love all the characters on the grid. Absolutely. A true F1 fan has to respect the skill and hard work every driver puts in. Absolutely. I think there. So if that's it for questions, we will leave it there for today's video, guys. Like we said, we hope you've enjoyed. Enjoy the come down for the race. Enjoy your summer breaks. We'll obviously be doing live streams when we can. I think things get a little bit less chaotic for me over work there. So definitely the fantasy ones.
Apologies last week. Yes.
Yeah,
we had a big IndyCar interview. If you want to check that out, we were interviewing Alex Palou, championship leader. So that kind of took up everything. But
I could only prioritize one channel last week, and when we got Alex Palou to come on, not unfortunately, IndyCar was definitely taking the priority there, and a feature video for there. So work was just chaotic, so we're going from there. But fingers crossed, we're back to a normal schedule from now on. But it did. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I can be somewhat dispassionate. Yeah, absolutely. See you in 3 weeks. I mean, we're not going anywhere, Gianni, but see you. No problem at all. See you later, guys. Have a good one. So for now, UF1 fans, keep racing.